your maximum potential is going to come from your creativeness and your discipline.
You might not realize this, but that relates so closely to trading. It's actually fucking crazy.
It's the small actions every day.
All right, guys, we're back. Another episode of the TFT podcast. Today, we're joined by the one, the only Richie Savage Lewis. He's U23 world champion, also undefeated MMA prospect, currently unsigned from Rutgers University. So I actually attended Rutgers with Richie. So welcome to the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, so long time coming. A lot of you guys have seen Richie on the social recently. He's been doing some kind of content for us, and he's also participated in some of our events. So you're the first athlete that we kind of signed. And yeah, walk us through kind of what you've been doing so far with TFT. I know it's not much, but how you've been incorporating it in your life a little bit.
I mean, so recently I've been transitioning from like mom and pop sponsors, people that know me from my hometown, and I feel like as I'm rising with my talent, I'm going to be able to tell my story a little bit more. So I want to go more commercial. So you guys are the really first big brand, commercial brand that I'm signing with. So I really wanted to dive in. I'm really excited. Like you said, we went to Rutgers together, and I grew up trading a little bit. I love economics. I feel like if you understand economics and you understand how the world flows, you kind of can understand everything.
Yeah.
Being tapped in with that, and being a businessman in MMA is rare. So I think just the values align.
That being said, I mean, to jump into a little bit, how difficult is it to kind of focus on business simultaneously to being full-time, taking care of your body, right, taking care of your mind, trying to tap in, train every day, right? Is it really challenging? Like, why aren't more people tapped in like that?
Because it's extremely fucking difficult. It's also cyclical. So growing up, I learned how to manage it, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned a lot of lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So now I kind of have that balance where training and MMA and UFC is the number one thing in my life. That's what I want to do, is be a world champion right over the next 5 years. So my decisions are very much so automated. I know the number one thing in my life right now is MMA. The number one thing in my life overall is my family. The number one thing that I want to leave behind, my purpose and my provocation from God is to help others and help the youth. That's why I'm opening up the Savage School. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have a clear direction, and it allows me to kind of automate all my decisions. Is this decision gonna lead me in the direction that I want to go towards my goal right now, towards my goal in the future? And it's a very easy yes or no. And I feel like the most successful people are very decisive, and having that decisiveness allows it to be a lot easier. I think my load management is very high. I think that is because I give my energy, and I'm very wary of it, but I give it to the right people. So if I give it to my family, my girl, my mom, my coaches, my team, people that I care about, the energy is reciprocated this way, and it's reciprocated this way. You know, I'm very religious, and it's reciprocated through God. So you're actually able to have more energy rather than less, even though you're expending more.
Yeah, because it's so I understand to an extent. It's like you're feeling fulfilled, right, through all this energy that you're giving out, because these things internally, intrinsically, that motivate you, you're feeding them like through all these actions that you're taking, basically.
Correct, right? And it's cyclical, you know. There's times where you're extremely motivated, and there's times where you're not motivated, and you have to be disciplined. So I learned to make sure that when it's high, I strike when the iron's hot. When I'm feeling like this, I make sure at a minimum I'm going at a more gradient scale.
That's like a really, really good point. That's something that I actually battle as well, right? I mean, you can't always be at the peak. You're going to have these kind of ups and downs, right? And it's who knows why, right? Your energy goes up and down. There's so many different reasons as to why it can. But for me, it's the same thing. It's like, what is my baseline? What are the baseline actions that I can take to maintain, you know, a good level? But then once I am cultivating and I have a lot of that energy, that's when I start like pushing in, like trying to go harder and trying to get as much done. Not like burn out, right? But just take advantage of being that like connected.
You have to be willing to do the work.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back to you're what? You're 28?
29.
29. All right. So 29. You're obviously several years removed from the whole college wrestling career, right? Walk us through like just back to college. Did you didn't go to Rutgers right away, right? You went to JUCO and stuff, or
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I'll take it all the way back to high school, you know. I grew up with my parents. I was a little bit of a troubled youth. So I moved down to a really good wrestling town in Toms River, New Jersey, in and out of different homes. So my parents just made me focus on athletics. So they said, you're going to be an athlete. You're not going to do school, so you could just focus on that. I was very blessed to have great parents that supported me in that way. I went to junior college. After I went to junior college.
how in high school? How often were you training for like wrestling?
Oh, every day, twice a day. Yeah, sometimes I wouldn't go to school and my parents would let me train and stuff. Actually, my dad always knew, but my dad's Joseph Lewis. He's a coach at St. Mary's South Amboy, Carter McCarrick. 20 years they've been St. Joe's. He's sent kids Division I, sent kids professionally to the league. So my dad was a coach, so
Right.
he kind of always understood that. And he was a coach at a Catholic school right next to Perth Amboy, which is inner city. So he would get kids that were like me, and he managed them. So my dad knew. He just
How
knew
to handle the persona, everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So did your dad push you to wrestle, or did you choose to wrestle?
No, so I just started off playing basketball, and then I was way too aggressive. Like, I would be trying to fight people since I was like 5 years old. And then I started Taekwondo first. A lot of people don't know this. People see me strike, and they're like, bro, how can you strike like that? It's a wrestler. I started off doing Taekwondo, and I realized it was the only place that I could get into my flow state, the only place that I listened, the only place that I was disciplined, the only place I was able to be still, be composed, and be calm. And I was probably 5, 6 years old, and I noticed that, and I said, this is a good feeling, and, this is where I want to be.
That's crazy to have that awareness that young.
And I don't think I even had the awareness. I just had the feeling, and it made me feel good.
Right,
I didn't get the awareness till I was older.
right.
But
Now you're like making that connection, but it was a feeling.
it was a
Right,
feeling.
interesting.
And that's what I always chase when I wrestled. And that it's not a high, but it's the flow state, and I used to not be able to control that. I was able to control
You're like
as a
in the
kid.
tunnel. You feel untouchable.
Your eyes tap
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
and nothing else matters. You're completely present in the moment.
Yeah, that's a huge component of it. So, and speaking of like the presence, right? So it seems like at 5 or 6, you start to get this good feeling, right? And then what age do you start wrestling?
I was 10 years old.
10.
I was playing football, and you remember Scotty Winston from Jackson Memorial?
No.
He's a great football player, and he's a
Okay.
3-time state champion. He grew up. His dad was my football coach, and he pulled me to the side and my parents and was like, "Look, your son's really good." I played nose guard, and I was like the smallest kid, and I would just go boom, tackle the quarterback, right? Because I was very aggressive.
Right.
He was like, "Your son's an athlete, but he's not going to be a professional football player.
Right.
He's not big enough." And he's like, "You should bring him over to wrestling." And I was about 10 years old, and once I started wrestling, I never looked back.
Did you leave all their sports behind at that point, or?
Yeah, I left most other sports behind, and then I played lacrosse for 1 year when I was in 8th grade, and it was pretty fun.
Just one.
Just one. I was good though. I started MIDI,
just for fun.
everything. Yeah.
It sounds like wrestling became very quickly your passion, something that you were good at, right? I'm like curious, how many matches, you said you started when you were 10, like how many matches did you wrestle from like 10 to 18?
10 to 18. At least 3,000.
3,000.
Yeah, they would take us to the tournaments, and my dad and my team would make us go compete in different weights and different age groups. So let's just say 10 to 11 would compete at 9 o'clock, get done with the tournament at 12. We would re-enter the tournament for the 12 and 13-year-olds or 13 and 14-year-olds.
Right. You were wrestling kids your age all the time, or you were wrestling up and whatnot? Or
When
no?
you're younger, you wrestle more kids your age, and then when you get older, like it's more of a 4-year age gap than college, 5 or
Of course,
6.
yeah, with high school and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything
yeah.
like that. So 3,000 matches. Were you winning like the majority of the time? Like how successful were you with the
Honestly,
matches?
I didn't get really good until I was about. I mean, I was always good, like top in the country, top 20, but I don't think you're good unless you're number one. You know, when I won my world championship,
Right.
I didn't get that level until I was about 20, but I put on 20 pounds. So when I was younger, I was kind of smaller. I was like 138. I started high school at 103, so I had to rely a lot on my technique And then once I kind of really hit like my hard puberty and lifting and stuff, I have this big power now, but I also have the priviness of the technique from when I couldn't use power.
Right.
You know?
So that all that hard work when you didn't necessarily have the talent or the physicality, right, to really just impose your will on people.
Correct.
Per se, right? So that ended up catching up. So in high school, where you ended up going where? Toms River.
Toms River East with Antonio.
Yeah. For those that don't know, that's in Jersey. So
TR, baby.
yeah. So in Toms River, that's obviously a huge high school, right? It's a pretty big. Is
I mean,
it Group 4? Like,
it's
what
the
is
big
it?
it's the biggest town in New Jersey, and we have 3 high schools.
Yeah.
We had and BJ Claggett, All-American, Ken Theobald, All-American, me, World Champion, and then behind that we have 10 or 15 in other divisions like Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, Junior College, etc. All-Americans all grew up training together, but also went to the different high schools: Toms River North, Toms River South, Toms River East.
What is like the practices for that high school must have been pretty difficult, right? The way they were pushing and everything. What is like the hardest workouts they would bring you through?
In high school, my coach was a military guy. This is very rare. So my coach was a 2-time All-American for Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an All-American in Division 1, you're normally coaching out of college or like a prestigious program, not a public school. Like, you get what I'm saying? And he was also in the military, so he would actually have us train for 3.5 hours after practice. That's when I started to learn about load management.
Right.
We used to have to run this thing called the 2.2, which is 2.2 miles around the track, come back. As soon as we're back, go straight into lifting, 50 pull-ups, 50 push-ups, 24 stretch-outs, then grab the Oklahoma. So I would grab like maybe 30, 40 pounds. Without putting the weight down, we had to do 12 curls, 12 opposite curls, 12 up. And this was all before practice. And then we would have to drill 10 single legs.
That shit is hard, bro.
10 single legs right side, 10 single legs left side, 10 this, 10 that. And we used to do hundreds of drills every day. And then after that, we would go live. I'd get a 2-hour break, and then I'd go to my club practice.
So I didn't tap into that type of training until probably like later in college. When you're in high school training that hard, and like how the fuck do you feel? Like, you probably feel crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed it because I didn't get sore or anything because I was still younger and I'm flexible, and I hit puberty a little bit late, so I was kind of able to manage it differently. I look back now, I'm like, man, I wish I could do all that and not be sore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you're training so much harder than anybody in the whole school.
Correct.
Realistically, I mean, football, obviously
in the whole country.
Football is working pretty hard, but I mean, those workouts when you're rolling, when you're drilling, when you're lifting, when you're running, those are fucking terrible.
And then wrestling after, and wrestling and combat sports is much different because it's such a different understanding of the human body and understanding of like kinetic energy rather than just like force output.
Right. Right. There's a lot of finesse when it comes to, and you're also, you're one-on-one with somebody else's mind.
That's my favorite part.
That's another thing.
The fact that I get to go against another man and I get to prove I'm the better man, that's what wakes me up in the morning. So when someone challenges me, I that's why I'm so calm and composed. I almost, in my head, I'm not laughing, but I'm just like this dude has no idea what I've been through in my life. He has no idea how smart I am, no idea how tapped in I am with God, no idea the person that I am, and I almost laugh at them because some dudes actually think they can beat me, and I'm just like, you're gonna see tomorrow.
So I have a very similar frame of thinking where I look at business as a competition. I look at everyone has the same 24 hours in the day, and how well you can connect yourself, and how well you can train, and how well you can learn, like how quickly you can continue to learn. That all puts you at an advantage, and you're either kind of going, you're either making progress pretty consistently or you're going all over the place, right? So I feel like in business is very similar. Like when you're connected and you're tapped in, and you're almost against this other business and against these other people. And so I think, I have that confidence as well, right? I have that supreme level of confidence where I'm like, I don't know how someone's going to have a chance against me. But when I speak with you, you have that level of confidence as well. So it leads me to believe there has to be other people, maybe not in my industry, but in other industries that definitely have that same level of thinking. But maybe it's so few. Maybe it's just because me and you, for whatever reason, or coincidence, are able to connect, and we're just one of the few people in the whole entire world that think this way. But
I think I can tell you why.
Yeah.
Because you have to be literally delusional and then at the same time be so concrete in your thinking to execute. But you need the delusional belief in order to get there. It's almost paradoxical.
Right. Yeah. So for me, that's extremely accurate in terms of we shouldn't be where we're at right now, right? The funded trader shouldn't be where it's at. The community shouldn't be where it's at. All of our businesses shouldn't be where they're at. And the reason that they're here is because of that conviction, because of that willingness to listen to know and that this is impossible, and to know that an outcome that I desire can come to fruition through my sheer will and hard work and dedication and desire. So, I learned it later in college. When did you learn kind of that? When did you acquire that mentality, like that killer mentality where you were going to win at all costs?
When I was a child, I think it's an innate thing that you're born with.
Right.
I think that some people are chosen by God, and some people are chosen. Everyone's chosen by God, but people are chosen in different ways. My mother was a businesswoman, but my dad was in the union, so my mom had quit her job so she could raise me full time. And she was really tapped in. She used to make me listen to The Secret. I used to go to Jack Canfield. I used to do all these things where it's training your subconscious. I'd be going to sleep. My mom would be playing these books in the background. And she literally, I don't care if you listen to it, just have it on in the background. Just have it on in the background. So I feel like it built a very strong subconscious strength in me. And that's most of the reason why I think I have.
I just want to say real quick, like anybody that's listening that's a parent, and if you don't have money, right? Maybe you don't have money, you don't feel like you're not taking care of your kid. If you do these things, if you plant the seeds in your child's mind, not even in anybody's mind, right, that you oversee, that you have supervision over, if you plant that positivity, if you plant that subliminal messaging to get them to believe, to have that level of confidence in themselves, that's generational wealth.
Yep.
That's one of the biggest gifts that you can give. It's not just money that you can deliver to these people. It's how you can cultivate a better and more fruitful mind for the future. Literally. Crazy.
Facts.
Yeah. So it sounds like your mom did that for you.
She did. It's the greatest thing she ever gave me. I say my dad gave me his genetics and my mom gave me her brain.
That's an elite combination.
Yeah.
And so for most people, they don't grow up, maybe with that situation, right, where they have this mentor, in their father per se, and then they have a mother who's, helping to instill some good values and some good beliefs kind of in you. It doesn't mean that you can't get there though. For me, a lot of it, I had a lot of things that I learned from my parents, but one of the things I didn't learn was the psychology. The psychology is really huge. So beyond your mom kind of instilling some of this stuff in you, did you speak with anyone, right, psychologically wise, in terms of coaching or anything?
Yeah, I've always been very independent, so I've always kind of moved around and been my own coach. Of course, I'm grateful to everyone that's helped me in the process, but it's always been a self journey and a self-learning mission, and it's been very transient for me. I'm very happy that I'm in Florida now because this is where I want to, set my roots down. But psychologically, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I took for my undergrad, my first 2 years. And my dad, even like subconsciously with what he put inside of me, he was a union laborer. And he'd wake up at 5 a.m. and he would say, when I would wake up, he'd be like, I don't want to go to work. Like the reason I'm doing this, my dad's from the projects, he's like, the only reason I'm doing this is so I can give you a life that you can go be an athlete, that you can go follow your dreams, that you can go do that. So these are the things that I think about when I'm training, when I'm fighting. Because if I waste my talent, it's not just a waste to me. It's a waste to my family, my community.
That is so interesting because it's similar for me. My dad was a cop and he worked the 5 a.m. shift. So he'd wake up 4 a.m. every day and then he'd get off at 1 and then he would do, he was like, what it was called, like do side jobs, right? So he was like contractor. So then he would go and work 1 to 5 as a contractor, right? And then come home and have dinner or whatever. And I'm just like, that is not a life that I ever want to live. Like this guy worked so hard.
And what do you think about seeing that blue collar mentality? Do you think that did something for you?
Well, I mean, yeah, the dude my dad is one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life and never complained or whatever. He just showed up and got things done every day. And on top of that, he would train, right? He would lift like every day as well, like hard.
I feel like that mindset is genetically passed down. I feel like, that's why kings have strong children.
Right.
You see the lineages and you see the lines, and I feel like a lot of it is yourself, but a lot of it is also, your bloodline.
So for anybody listening that's younger, maybe if you have someone younger that wants to listen to this podcast, we're talking a bit about psychology and just like growing up. So for me, when I was younger, my father would push me to train. Like he would encourage me to train. Or I'd complain to him, I'm so fucking small. I'm scared of this fight. I'm scared I'm getting a fight, whatever. And he'd be like, the answer is to improve your skills and to train and build confidence, right? So he would push me, and even in like sports and football, he'd make me drag the fucking sled at the park, put weights on until I fucking threw up and cried. And at the time, I was really upset about it, right? I was like, why is he doing this? He hate me, this and that. But then eventually that I learned that push that he was giving me to become the best version of myself, to unlock that fear that I had, right? To rise up and to have that confidence. I mean, that's the best lesson that he ever taught me, was that the hard work can help me to achieve what I wanted to achieve in life.
And bringing it back to what you said earlier, there's two battles, right? So there's the personal battle where it's you competing against yourself. And then the second battle is you competing against these other companies like iFight, you're competing against other prop companies. And in order to get better and become the best version of yourself, you need a worthy adversary. So if you don't have a worthy adversary, there's going to be no reason for you to, it's like the capitalist movement.
I love that.
There's no reason for you to have to improve. That fear inside of you is going to drive you to do something, or drive you to work, or drive you and push you to a place that you never would have gone if that other company or that other man wouldn't have been in front of you.
That's so interesting. So I've seen this with my partner. As things started to settle out a little bit, we grew a lot, right? And then we were kind of like at the top, and we achieved more than we even set out to achieve. At one point, we're like, holy shit, like we didn't even plan for this to happen. And so I noticed with him that he actually started getting complacent in a way, because we weren't being challenged by anything. We were just kind of like way above where we wanted to be, and we're just like, shit, like what do we do? Kind of like, what do we do now? I mean, I was pushing, but like he was getting in this mentality. And then all of a sudden now there's more firms that are rising up. There's more things that are happening. To your point, there's some more worthy adversaries that we're competing with. And now he's like back on his game. Like he's like so motivated to make shit happen, and just excited and like having fun, and feels challenged, right?
Yeah, and idleness is the hands of the devil, Whenever you're idle and you're not moving, that's when the thoughts are intrusive. When you're working, that's when it's positive.
Yeah. With myself, I see that so much. I have such an active mind. I'm someone that is always being extremely self-reflective. And not to say that I'm being extremely self-critical all the time, but I always want to evaluate kind of where I'm at, where I'm going, how I'm thinking about things. And yeah, one thing that helps me for sure is every day moving my body, every day working a little bit towards my goals. Like that stuff is how I stay at peace, internally. And some people are given a bigger mission than others, bro.
Correct.
And so I feel like the ones that are truly struggling with the mental side of things in life, that are really have a shit ton of anxiety, or really are kind of, we'll say, being visited by the devil, right, a little bit, it really means that these people have such a large mission, in my opinion, and they're not doing the work necessary to position themselves to mentally be ready to take it on. So they're just like sitting there with the devil, like he's just like, yeah, you're fucked. Like, they got to rise up and hit that shit in the head and like start getting to work and start moving.
When did you start to shift from a place where you're self-critical in a negative way to where the self-criticism became a positive?
So for me, it was in college. I was putting a lot of things before myself. Like I was letting the opinion of others dictate my life more than the opinion of myself, if that makes sense. So, I was kind of partying too much, right? Like smoking weed too much. I wasn't getting on top of my schoolwork, right? I was just letting things compound, and I wasn't putting in enough work to kind of get ahead of it. So at one point, and I was being extremely self-critical, right? I was like, fucking up always, like this sucks. Like I was medicating with weed, like all this shit. And then at one point, I remember I was at the the Rutgers gym. I forgot what campus I was on, like Bush or something.
I was
right?
gonna say College Ave.
I was like,
that
no,
shit.
fuck college. Let's get a gym, bro. I don't go there. Or no, it was Livingston. I was on Livingston campus. I used to go to the gym there, and it was like January. So it was just after Trump got elected. So Trump got elected. I was not to say that like I'm a huge like Trump guy, but I was extremely motivated by the underdog winning. Like I love the story of the underdog winning. So he won. I was sitting there like fucking taking dabs, like smoking weed, and I was like, this is crazy. Like this guy won. And the wheels started churning. I was like, shit, like anything can really happen in life. Like if you really will yourself to get there. So that was part of it. And then that January, I looked in the mirror and I was like, shit, I'm fucking overweight. I'm 21 years old. I'm in the worst shape of my life. Mentally, I feel the worst about myself right now. I was like, I like hit rock bottom, right? I was like, I need to reevaluate how I'm taking care of myself, how I'm doing everything. So I just hard shifted. And I was like, from today on, I'm going to get on a meal plan. I'm going to fucking change up my diet. I'm going to get on a workout routine. I had an injury, like a neck injury. I found a coach to help mentor me and help to train me and like physically heal me and all of that. And that's when I started to shift after several weeks, like 8 weeks of going really hard with this coach, with this diet, with all this stuff, like cutting out all the alcohol, cutting out all the everything, like weed, everything. That after that 8 weeks is when I started to shift, and I was like, holy shit, like my coach was a martial arts guy, started instilling me this like positive thinking and to expect that I'm going to get better by doing these like small actions every single day.
It's the small actions every day.
And that's what martial arts teaches you, bro. Like
when
it's
you said
crazy.
compound, I was like, dude, that's what it is.
Yeah. Like I didn't know about any of that stuff. I didn't look at it like today when I wake up is a new day, a fresh day. Every day is a fresh day. And you just have to do a little bit every day. And you have that mentality going into every single day. And then after 1,000 days, you end up where I'm at now.
Correct.
Right.
I have a rule like that. So it goes like, rule number 1, if you're ever in a hole, stop digging. You know, and because you felt like that before, and it probably will never get like that bad again.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be cyclical. And anytime that I do start to notice myself get into like a little rabbit hole like that, when I identify it, I say to myself, rule number 1, stop digging. You know? Yeah,
no, it's also important to say that although you're at the level that you're at and I'm at the level that I'm at, we aren't immune to the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole the devil is always trying to come.
It's more intriguing.
Yeah, he's always there. Like the bigger I become, bro, the more temptation comes into my life, right? The more that I can fuck up at the end of the day, the more that I can waste these opportunities that I have. The devil is always there, bro. He's always lurking, ready to get you.
And now that you're in this position, don't you get more satisfaction from abstaining or from finding peace rather than giving in?
Yeah, my biggest thing right now, and I've done a lot of this, is the fasting. So I do a lot of fasting, and for me, it's really it is an abstainment of consumption. So consumption can be anything. It can be food, it can be music, it can be TV, it can be relationships, right? And the overconsumption of anything is the death of your creativity.
Gluttony.
Yeah, the gluttony of it. That's where you can become exposed. That's where you can get messed up. So yeah, the bigger I become, it's funny. The more money I've started to make, I've taken an opposite approach of the average person. Is the more I try to cut my expenses. Like people think I'm like out of my mind, but I'm like I'm just continuing to be as disciplined as I can be, because who knows when this all will end, right? I have to be as prepared as I can for the future of myself and my family and everything. And my goals are not aligned with expanding my lifestyle. They're in line with helping out my family and helping out, at the end of the day, my future family as well. So to answer your question, yeah, the abstainment, the fulfillment coming from the abstainment, I never feel better than when I hit like a 2-day fast and I don't be watching some bullshit and then I'm like hitting some work and whatever, and I'm super at peace. Like at that point, it's like a state of bliss.
So what would you say your purpose is? I think that outside looking in, the TFT is very similar to my UFC aspirations. They're I don't want to say selfish, but there are goals.
Intrinsic.
Intrinsic.
Yeah.
What is your purpose driven? That's maybe your calling that you're gonna give back if you have one of those.
So for me, it really all just comes down to again, when I was at Rutgers in my final semester, I alleviated all the anxieties that I had felt about myself and tapped into that space where you're truly a creative being and someone who can really create your destiny, can reinvent your entire life. Like, I've truly tapped into that state of mind, and that's the state of mind that I always try to position myself to be in now. So my purpose in life, and this is what I believe deeply, is to try to help others, to the youth, whomever, to tap into the tunnel, to tap into the router, to the connection of the mind, where you're not filled with this state of angst, where you truly step into your power and you unlock your purpose, and can ultimately make, whether you want to make a shit ton of money or you just want to make a shit ton of art, or whatever you want to do. If you want to just help people in general, I want to help people tap into that mentality, because I think human beings have so much potential, and a lot of people are wasting it.
Doug, you know, that's my literal same purpose. Literally.
Yeah, but it's because you started here and now you're here and you unlocked it, you know? So I want to help other people to unlock that state of mind.
I think that's why we're here, you know? And I feel like as men, we're here to succeed. And once that's over, the only thing left to do is to give back.
Yeah.
And especially in today's world, the access to education, and not even maybe education like math, science, but the education that you're talking about, the education that we're talking about.
It's different.
It's different, and it's become almost taboo. But I feel like now the more people, our generation, our age, that are tapped in and building companies now and having resources, are going to be able to create a whole new system of learning that's going to make society a way better place.
See, it's so different for me than the average person, because I only try to surround myself as capable as I can be of people who are tapped in. So you might think that, for me, it might be a great opportunity. I go to a club, I meet some dude. He's in a similar industry, maybe he has great opportunities, but he's not aligned with myself. Like, I can tell this man is sleeping with the devil a little too much, right? His energy isn't in alignment. And for me, I'd rather stay on my path, stay in alignment, and like stay divine in a sense, and continue to move and maybe miss out on that opportunity than align myself with someone who's of that energy. So yeah, I think that it has in a way become taboo, but people have to realize that, and this is my opinion, I will say, is when you truly do live in alignment, when you truly do have a purpose, and you go towards that constantly, I'm not gonna say you're like bulletproof, bro, but you definitely can navigate some tough terrain, and whether you want to say it's God or just a universal power, bro, it's very powerful force that can help to lead you to where you want to get to.
Yes, and I add on to that, like I was saying with the decisiveness, I always make sure that I act in my character, so I'm always making a righteous move that aligns with my morals. So even if things end up bad, or even if things don't go my way, I know that I acted in my own nature, and I acted the right way, and I acted in alignment, so I have no anxiety about it. I could be very clear, okay, this didn't work out, I did it, but I did the right thing, I'll move on to the next thing and keep it pushing.
Yeah, and that's, so you don't get into that state of a lot of people live and they have resentment, right? They live with a lot of resent about what had happened in their life, and it's, in my opinion, simply because in that moment, they made a decision that was either not when they were extremely present or not when they were aligned with their goals and their purpose, right? They went out of their way to make this decision maybe for someone else or for something else, and they really didn't want to make that decision. I'm gonna be honest, bro, and this is gonna sound extremely selfish, and I don't really give a fuck, is I don't make any decisions that I don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Straight up. Like, this is the life that I choose to live, and it comes with its positives, it comes with its negatives, but I truly believe that we only get to live one time in this lifetime, and we ultimately have the ability to create a fantastic and amazing life. And I know how amazing life can be, and I truly want to live my life in a way where I choose, like, I have agency. I choose what I do every single day, and that's important to me, and that's how I continue to live my life. And I've had the best years of my life since I started living that way. When I was living for other people, when I was letting other people dictate my decisions and all of that, bro, I wasn't enjoying life, bro. I'll be completely straight up with you.
Even when you get the wins.
Even when I got the wins, it was like I wasn't there. It wasn't me. I wasn't present. Like now, bro, when I get the wins, like I feel that shit like deep in my soul, bro, because I know what it took to get there. Like I know the decisions involved to get there, and bro, it's way different. It's way different, bro, when it's kind of just like being a man in a way, right? It's way different when you're making these decisions and you're just sticking by them no matter what, sticking to your guns.
And that's why, like, building out a fan base in whatever you do, or building out a network or clientele, the people follow you, they listen to your podcast and these things because they want that agency in their life and they see you doing it. So they're attracted to the thing that they're unable to do. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good point. And listen, I understand fundamentally that most people, they don't live this way. Most people are slaves to the food, slaves to their decisions, slaves to, bro, even their families sometimes, right? They're slaves to a lot of things in their life. And for me, that realization that I had was like, all these things that hold me back, all these things that potentially affect me reaching my destiny, like, fuck those things. Like, I'm gonna just focus on the things that can help me get to where I want to be in life, and that's what's most important to me. And there'll be people that align on the way. I think the hardest part of all of this, bro, was like, and I know a lot of people are probably going through this too, maybe a little bit younger, is when you start to think this way, you lose a lot of people. You lose a lot of people, bro, a lot of things. And for me, there was years that went by, and I'm a very social person. I enjoy interaction. I enjoy that camaraderie with other people. Like, I love that. And for me, it was tough, bro, to cut certain people off that I knew couldn't be in my life anymore. Like, it was really tough, but at the end of the day, it was worth it, bro.
And rather than consider them losses, I like to consider them sacrifices. So that is a cost of the game.
The more you sacrifice, the more you win.
You know?
Like, that's winning. Winning, bro, is literally, if me and you were to line up for a wrestling match right now, you sacrificed more on the mat than me, you're going to win. Mm-hmm. You sacrificed more mentally than me, you're going to win. The man who sacrifices more before that engagement will win.
I agree.
Straight up. That's how it works.
I agree. And that is like 90% of it. But I truly believe, like, I believe in destiny, and I feel like you have to be born with this innate talent, the way that your brain can work. I feel like everyone can tap in and whatnot, but I also feel like you have to be chosen as well.
There's some people's destiny that might be to be my gardener or your gardener. Yeah. And that's fine. That's a worthy destiny for them, right? But there's certain people's destinies that are meant to be at the top. And that's not everyone.
Nope.
That's not everyone. That's a realization. That's something that, for me, and not everyone needs to be, right? For me, I wouldn't be content because I was given this mission to be at the top of this industry, to be, bro, I'm going for the world. People sit here and like, this fucking guy, right? I'm going for it all, bro. Dude, I could change the world.
I tell people like about what you're doing, and I understand like the trading and stuff, but I started to read more into the prop firms and the valuation. I'm like, bro, and you didn't even tell me this, right? But I'm like, there's not even like real policy yet. You're gonna be the one who's fucking creating that. Think about that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if people know that or not, but that's absurd.
I'm literally said it on a podcast previously that because of the fact that this whole model is something that was really created originally in the Czech Republic by this other firm, but we were the first to do it in the US. And because of the fact that there is no gaming license, there's no brokerage license, there's no license in the US around this business model. So it's really open-ended. So for us, one of the things that we can do to get ahead of this is we could sit here with our lawyer and our director of compliance that we're hiring, and we could sit here with our whole compliance department. We could look at the brokerage license, look at the gaming license, and we can create our own regulation around what we're doing, and then we can follow that with documentation pretty concretely to the point where when the regulators reach out to us, which they inevitably will, and we say, hey, here's this book of everything we've been doing over the last year and every guideline that we follow and how it relates to all these different regulations that you have written, why don't you, instead of shutting this down, why don't you actually read into this and see how you can implement it so that everyone can not only have more opportunity, but you guys can make more money. Because everything in like people are so afraid of the government, but the government is like, in my opinion, I'm not saying like the government, let's just say everything. Everything, if you're in alignment with something that they desire, something that they need, you can make a deal. Like you can make deals with that almost anything. Right?
Correct.
So if we can position it in a way where we understand fundamentally what's important to them, and they can read into that and say, wow, they feel like they're getting like a warm hug from us. They're like, oh shit, like this company came correct in what they're doing. It's kind of, new. We don't really understand it, but let's open the door. That might only open the door for us to have a conversation. When previously, if we didn't come that prepared, then they would have not even considered to hear us out. Oh, who are these young adults, like 28, 25-year-olds making this company? Like they're doing something sketchy. Let's just shut it down. But we come proper. We come, with the right attire. That opens the door to what we need.
That's a big reason why I aligned with you, because I saw that without you giving me details, I saw that you saw the long term. That's why you did it in the U.S. That's why you could futurely be a publicly traded company. That's why you're making these decisions now, and you have high morals, bro. And honestly,
you know why I do it though? I'm gonna be straight up with you. And my partner is even more he's as fucked up as I am in terms of he enjoys the risk. I know straight up with the way that I think about life, the way that I take care of myself. If worse came to worse, bro, and this business became challenged to the point where we had to go to court and all of that, I'd stand in court like a fucking stone, and I'd be ready with like nuts of steel.
Standing on business, that's what we say.
I'd be ready for the challenge, bro, because it's just another person that's gonna be in front of me, and we'll see who's more well studied. And if I may lose the day, but I won't lose the war. I'll be here, bro. I'll be here even if, bro, I'll be here no matter what. And I'm prepared, and that's just because I found the source of what actually makes me happy, bro. The source of what makes me happy is honestly just staying fit, staying sharp of mind. That's what makes me happy. All this, the rest is fun. It's just a playground for me. Just staying sharp of mind is what's most important for me. Now, if I get put in a situation where I'm in a fucking cell and I don't get food and I don't get anything to read, that's going to be tough.
I get you.
That'll be tough. But I'll even find a way then, bro. It's all about finding a way. It's literally all about finding a way back to that centeredness, back to that alignment. That's all that life is, in my opinion. Listen, I'm young. I have a lot to learn. But I know that you know this too. I'm 28.
28.
Yeah. So, I even love how there's some dudes that will be a bit older and they'll maybe look at the stuff you're trying to do, the stuff that I'm trying to do, and they're like, yo, chill out, this and that. And it's like, nah, like we're next stop.
Correct. A prime example is when I watched Renzo's video, Why You Still? It's like I watch the kids do TikTok and all this stuff, and I don't quite understand it, but I'm like, okay, let me watch this, see the short form content, see that, and like it's a higher dopamine hit that these kids are getting, and that's why they're getting the clicks, that's why they're getting the views, that's why they're getting the ad revenue and stuff. And when I watched Renzo's video, he was just like, too much dopamine. And I just clicked for me. I'm like, oh my goodness, and that's when 6 years ago, and that's what it is, and it can't be stopped.
Yeah, and that's an important thing I think to do endlessly, and you can maybe even speak to this in terms of training, is to always be self-reflective in the sense that we could be the best platform on the face of the earth, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be reevaluating everything that we're doing constantly. Like, not to the point where we're stuck or getting put in the mud or going in reverse, but we should always be collecting feedback. We should always be looking at things from a lens of how is somebody else doing this? Do they have a cool little feature that we should be looking at? Oh, what are they doing? Kind of like how you're looking at the short form content. I don't understand it, but let me look into that. That's something that I'm huge on. I'm constantly studying what other people are doing.
This is my coach.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I watched film. I just sat there, watched film with Conor McGregor, and just did his footwork. This was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm looking to sign with an agency. I'm like, okay, who do I want to sign with? Get a call from Paradigm. That's who manages Conor. And I seen that long-term vision. But to speak back on that, looking at other people is always good, and seeing how you can add it to yourself. You just have to be careful that your maximum potential is going to come from your creativeness and your discipline.
I like that.
So while I learned from Habib, I learned from Connor, I learned from Volkanovski, I learned from all these guys. But guess what? At the end of the day, there's only one version of myself, and that's Richie Lewis. So
that relates, so you might not realize this, but that relates so closely to trading. It's actually fucking crazy, because you could buy all the courses in the world, right? You could buy all these strategies, all these different things, but everyone knows this. Everyone that's made money with trading, that's made money on the funded trader, they know that when push comes to shove, you have to get on the chart and you have to find a strategy that works for you, that mentally you can sit there and you can hold when it goes up and down, and that you're the creator of whatever system that you're using.
That's something I just learned with the protocols. It's way different to trade in a prop firm than it is to trade in the regular market.
Yeah.
The different strategies.
Yeah.
You can make a shit ton of money in the regular market, but if you can't follow the protocols and the timelines correctly on the prop firm, you're not going to make money with the same exact strategy that's proven to make money.
Yeah. So tell me, obviously in wrestling or in general in MMA now, you're trying to find an edge, right, with your opponents. Or are you, right? Is that something that you're focused on in terms of like, are you studying the film and you're like, this is a weakness, and this is how I'm going to have an edge, right? Or is it just, I'm going to show up, be the best version of myself and like get it done?
No, I'm the best. I'm the best in the world currently sitting here right now. And I'm just expressing it into reality. Those are minor details. My everyday work is that. And honestly, I didn't do media. I didn't, put myself out there. I just kind of did my regular things because I wanted my talent to catch up to when I tell my story. I always knew I was going to be the best in the world, but I had to put my time in. I spent 3 years in New York City training with John Danaher, training with Gordon Ryan, traveled all over to AKA, wrestled with Habib, trained with Javier Mendez, been coming down here since I was 16, 17. It's always been that way, but when you know, you know.
Yep. So let's talk about a little bit of like trials and tribulations that you went through, kind of in your journey. So at Rutgers, what was it, your final year that you went to the World Championships and ended up winning?
Yep, my final year. I went my senior year. Like I said, honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna cap. I never told the story before. I was 20 years old and I was at Iowa Central and I wasn't tapped in, and I tried DMT, bro. And I went on a wild trip and I came back, and that's when my whole life changed.
Really?
Yeah, and then right after that, I got really fucking good. I went from being like, getting recruited to a couple decent schools, Division I scholarship, to where then I showed out that year, full scholarship to Rutgers, top in the country, world championship 2 years after, started fighting, got agency over my life. I kind of like...
Do you feel like the DMT helps you to kind of get more connected to your... They say you see stuff like your relatives and like all these things, right? When you're taking DMT, all these like deep underlining connections in your life. Like, how do you feel like it really helped you to get more focused and like more locked in?
So I won't get into everything, but I'll get into the most important part is that I saw time and space differently. So we view time and space linearly, and I was able to view it all at once. And then that's where the manifestation comes in, because I realized that to God, or to however you want to call it, it's all happening everywhere all at once. But in the 3D world that we live in and material world that we live in, it happens linearly. But if you're able to tap into that, that's when I learned what real manifestation is. It also gave me a perspective where there was no such thing as emotion, no happiness, no lust, no greed, no anger. So I was able to see the perspective of my mom, the perspective of those close to me. And I'm like, wow, this is how these people do for me. This is how they care about me. This is how I act. I realized I don't have control over other people. I only have control over myself. And that's when I was able to take agency over my life,
So that is such an important thing that you said, because I think a lot of people go through the day and they're not connected to the source. right? So they're just going through the day and they're just like, this part of the day sucked and this part of the day is this and this part of the day is that. But for you, you're always just like, at this present moment, I'm grateful, I'm blessed, like I'm connected to my higher power, right? And it's just you like a force moving through the day as opposed to just like, oh, I'm just a human on this earth.
Correct. And being able to, I know you have a lot of meetings every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 trainings a day, meetings. I'm opening up my school. I have a girlfriend. I have my family. I have people that want to talk to me. I could be on a phone call. Okay, I got 5 minutes. The phone call could go good. The phone call could go bad. For 5 minutes, I'm inside of this phone call. The second that I put it down, I'm on to my next mission. And I'm able to completely turn that off and completely...
That's the mindset of like champions.
You completely dive back into that next moment.
Yeah, I'm reading this book on Elon, and that's what the dude that wrote the book, Walter Isaacson, he speaks about.
I just bought it.
Yeah, he speaks about how Elon is, the thing he's best at is he will be so focused on one thing, so intently, so enthralled with that one thing.
Conor McGregor.
This meeting, this, that, and if you try to bring up something else, it's like, yo, stop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're focused on this.
That's the first thing when I spoke to you that I noticed inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I live with that as well. It's important, extremely important.
When I was in Vegas training with Conor, and he was speaking to us about when he throws a punch, and he's turning it down. And every punch is the most important punch. Every single thing that I do when I'm doing it, I'm going to do it perfect on this rep. And if it's not perfect on this rep, I don't care because I'm going to do it again. But in that moment, my intention is so high. So it's as if someone else is throwing 100 punches. Someone else is throwing 10 punches for my one punch because my intention behind it allows my body to remember it that much more and it to be that much tapped in.
So how much that's like conscious action, right? Acting extremely consciously, like every single moment, having the most intent, like having the most focus in that moment to really, and that's how you're going to accelerate your learning at the end of the day. Like if you just go through the motions constantly, you're not learning. Like you're somewhere else, right? You're not right here.
You might as well not be there if you're going to go through the motions.
It's, in my honest opinion, it's not even worth it. That's like reading a book and then you go through 3 pages and you have no idea what happened.
Not only that, but it's also negative feedback to others and it'll turn into a negative feedback loop where it'll come back to you.
That's even deeper, right?
Yeah.
That's even another layer of it. So I agree, and that's why for me, even though I have a million meetings a day, I'm big on this. If I can't show up for that meeting, just like training, if I can't show up, I won't do the meeting. It's not good for me. It's not good for anyone else, right? If I show up and then I'm not dialed in, I can't actually contribute at the level that I know I can contribute to. And more recently, it's been getting more challenging because we're really pushing it. Like we have 100 employees, right? We have several businesses going on right now. There's so many challenging things. So I've had to be a little bit less on top of that as I'd like to be. But I constantly am trying to fight that battle. Like even right now, we're supposed to fly out tonight to New York City, and I text Luigi and I'm like, I just changed the flight to tomorrow night. Like I don't give a fuck about the money, anything else. Just we went out last night, right? Which was fun, which we had a great time doing. That was life. Today we're doing the pod. I need to do work tonight to be at the best mental space that I can be. I'm canceling the flight. I'm doing my work tonight, going to Lifetime. I'm doing the sauna, doing the steam room, right? So tomorrow morning I'll be prepared for the week, and then we'll fly out tomorrow night. So it's just shifted up, and let's just stay in alignment with where we need to be. So I'm always doing that.
Yep, and honestly, I went out yesterday, and I felt kind of the same way today. But this was important to me. I know because we both have very busy schedules. We've been trying to sit down for 3 months. But also being able to know when you could switch that. And I practice that every day when I train or every day when I feel that way. I don't know if you see me do it, but right before I walked in, I come in, focus, intention, gratitude. And it's able to completely shift your energy. And you don't want to do it all the time because obviously you're going to need your rest and stuff. Yep. But for things that are like imminent, if you could practice
that you need to show up to.
That you have to. And if you feel like complete shit, like the worst thing just happened to you, but if you're able to practice it and then when that moment comes.
I will say this though. This is something I've been thinking about recently. Although right now, I need to show up at times when I'm not necessarily really willing to or really want to, and I do. That's great. Like, that's great and all. But the reality is, I will I will achieve and unlock my destiny more if I continue to deny those opportunities. That's the stark reality.
And the higher that you go up, the more that you're going to have to decline.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's star power.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's no logic behind that. It's very much like a kind of like energy type thing. There's no logic to, oh, Angelo, like, you don't want to come to the meeting today? Why not? Like, bro, because I'm not ready. I don't feel like it, right? Or I need to focus on something else right now. Like, there's no logic to it in principle, but it just, for me, it is one of the most important things. Like, again, I got to where I'm at because I threw everything out the window and only did what I wanted to be doing, to the point where I had so much mental clarity that I created my reality. That was where the space I was in. So now that I made it to this level, if I let myself get clouded and I let myself get like in this state where I'm not in that state of bliss, like essentially if I let other people make the decisions for me, I let my business make decisions for me, my community make the decisions for me, dictate what I'm doing, how I'm acting, where I'm going, I will end up back in a place where I don't want to be in. Like, we need to reject those things. Like, it's just being the boss of your life, being the man of your life. Like, you have to, as a man, like, it's like when you end up having kids, and I don't have kids yet, but it's like, would you rather be the father that's there all the fucking time and not present and whatever? Or would you rather be the father that goes out, that works, that hunts, that provides, that sets a good example and leads? Like, it's kind of like which path you want to take.
And like you were saying, some are the gardeners that can do that, and then some do something special, and it's kind of innate of what you are going to do.
Yeah. So listen, I think that with what you're doing and where you're going, you're in this position where you're ready to and will break through. You're right there, right? And for you, the most important thing from my point of view right now is just that consistency. Like, that's all. It's gonna happen. It's literally gonna happen. You have it. Like, you're already moving towards it.
It's already happened.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
It just hasn't happened yet.
I like that. And you could see it with Sean O'Malley. I feel like he kind of tapped in recently with his whole fight. That shit was interesting. What do you think about that? Yeah.
He created that.
Yeah. That shit was wild.
He created that, and that's the new level. The young guys that you're going to see coming in, they're creating different opportunities for themselves. They're not seeing the opportunities and taking it. They're creating the opportunities. I'll give you a great example of Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley lost to Chito Vera. Literally, he lost. Everybody thinks he's undefeated because he says he's undefeated, and in his caption it says 13-0, 14-0. Mm-hmm. I talk to people. They're like, yeah, Sean O'Malley never lost. Da, da, da. I'm like, he just created that opportunity. How genius is that? Yeah. That's what got him the title shot.
Right. It's going to be a fucking sick fight, too. So going back to McGregor, right? So he is like the poster boy of this connectedness, like this manifestation. Like, his career was crazy. What had happened and how he positioned himself. And he was like the first one to really truly tap in while leveraging social media and everything like that. And yeah, for me, like, when I used to listen to his content, especially early on when I first turned the corner and kind of was thinking in this way, I used to listen to a ton of motivational shit, like, all the time. And I used to fucking cry, bro, listening to this shit. I'll actually tell you one thing I used to do. I used to at Rutgers, I used to jump the fence at the football field at like 5 a.m. and I'd go sit in the stands and I would like just fucking cry, dude. And I'd literally listen to the same thing every time about some shit about, I think it was like Ray Lewis, some motivational speech talking about his family, his decisions. Like, he got in a lot of trouble and shit too. Like, and I used to cry because I was like, I fucking wasted all this time. But then I'd like come to the realization and I'm like, but now I have the ability to do whatever I want to do. And so I used to listen to that, McGregor, like all this shit. And McGregor for me is huge because he doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Like, straight up. Like, he operates from that decision making where he is the king, like, of his life.
Yep.
Truly.
That's one of the greatest things that I learned from him. I saw how he operated his team. Honestly, I learned so much. And it's funny that I met you like right after that because I'm like, oh, there's other people that that think like me, you know, and it's not stuff that he necessarily like says on camera, but the intention and then how he runs his team and how he is the king and he's the boss, you know. And I seen that, but he's also such a good fucking person. And it was the first time I seen that at that level. And then I met you like maybe a month after, like when we started talking about business and stuff. And you were saying such similar things, and I'm like, dog, what? Yeah. And then I'm realizing myself, I'm like, I'm starting to align now with people that think the same way that I think, you know?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy, bro?
Yeah.
Like, that's truly a blessing. For me to be aligned with you, to be aligned with several other people in my life that think very similarly, these are the people that I'll keep close. And truly, bro, like, our mission now, me, you, several other people in my life who think similarly, is when we as men now, whether it's the youth or whether it's our employees or other people, when we give that feedback, when we try to guide them to be more confident, to think more freely and all of that, our ability to impact and to change their lives, if we can turn the corner for them, bro, they will ride for you your entire life. Like, they will become your soldiers of your army your entire life. And then they will do that for someone else. And that's community.
That's literally what I'm building out right now.
Yeah.
That's what you're building out. The other thing is that I learned a lot in business is being able to see people for who they truly are is a very, very important role in being the boss and being the CEO, because you have to set guidelines and you have to lead, but you also have to have boundaries, and you really have to have a great judge of character and intuition of how people are to make it far in this game.
Of course. It's all about, it's kind of like, it's chess, bro. It's putting people in position to be the best, to be the most powerful that they can be. And the more employees I get, the harder it becomes, obviously, because I can't pay as much attention to it. But that's the game that I'm trying to play, right? There's somebody right now, like within the company actually, that we're dealing with, and she's doing fantastic in her role, but she doesn't like it. Like, she hates it, right? And she literally wants to quit because of that fact, and she feels as though it's not in alignment with her goals, with her purpose, and all of this. So, you know, she came to me and was like, hey, like, I'm gonna quit, whatever. So now I'm thinking, I'm like, well, shit, this person's super talented. She's delivered on so many things for us. We don't want to lose her. So now I'm just like, how do I realign her to be in position to do what she wants to do so she can contribute at a high level? Because if you have a bunch of people that are working with you that are unhappy, that aren't working towards their purpose, bro, they're not going to actually help you, like, straight up.
I was dealing with the same thing literally right now. Someone who I consider my little brother. If I need him to do anything for me, it's done. I'm like, yo, you got to show up to this event, do this vendor shop, I can't make it, done. Yo, I need you to come drive here, do this, I need that, done. The second that I try and put him on to build up his self, it's almost like there's a huge uninterest in it.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, I'm thinking in my own mind, like, how do I break through? Should I break through that? How do I break through that? Is that just human innate nature?
He's not ready or something. You know? He's not ready. That's what it is.
And figuring that out, it will get you further than anything. Like, I sent you the Twitter thing the other day about.
Yeah. I shared that with like all my partners and stuff too, that about leadership. Like, it truly is, like the tweet said, it's having the vision and then being able to find the right people. And you don't need a lot of people. You can have a few, but you have a few of the right people. And then those people, like you was saying, they're self-policing. They're self-managing. Those are really important qualities. And they start to build the foundation, right? Like, you're over here and I'm building the foundation, but over here, you can't be over there. So you need these other people to be building the fucking whole foundation, the whole wall around you. And you get the right people, they start building that foundation. It's very easy to layer on top of that.
Shout out Luigi.
Shout out Luigi. Shout out, I mean, a lot of our team members, especially the core team that I started with, and even people that aren't even part of the company.
Can you give me some examples of your core team and the roles that they play for you?
Yeah, so Carlos is like really my main partner. Carlos Rico, he's from East Hanover, New Jersey. He actually was wrestler too. He went to Rutgers. He was in my fraternity as well.
What was his name?
Carlos Rico.
Did he go to Hanover Park?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he went to Hanover Park. So he was in my fraternity at school. So
Were you in Sig Ep?
yeah. So we pledged the same semester, and for just to give you a little bit backstory on him, so we pledged together, right? And as you may know, pledging is terrible. So we had like a freaking military dude that was our pledge master and everything, and he was pushing us like crazy. I don't know if you know who he is, Kevin Amditis, but it was like absolute hell that semester. At the end of the semester, we had Hell Week, and that week, we weren't allowed to sleep. We weren't allowed to eat.
You had to stay in the basement.
We had to stay in the basement, bro. And you know the basement.
I literally pulled up there.
You know the basement, bro.
Yes.
That shit, like, where you go to die.
I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's where you go to die, bro.
Were you there with Damien and Tono?
Yeah, well, I hazed Damien and Tono.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
like they were they pledged in the semester that was in my house at Delafield in our basement. You could go to that basement now. We made them all write their names in the stairs there and shit. Like, we used to get drunk and then just come home and like, hey, dude, that was like
Delafield was the trouble street.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going down Delafield, like
yeah. A couple of years after, my house at Delafield got shot up. Like they pulled up and just sprayed the house.
That's wild.
Like, yeah.
Well, you didn't live in the white one with that Skydell and Kuda and all those guys up there, or no?
No, I lived in the Sig Ep house, like the actual house.
Okay.
The house. Yeah.
Where you guys had the parties at?
I lived there, and bro, that was also anyone that's in college, bro, and wants to try to expand themselves, like join something, join a club, join a team, join a fraternity. That shit will push you to like be someone different, because living in that house was also part of the reason why I broke through so much, because we were living in filth, bro. We were showering, like the shower was just like a communal fucking open shower. Like there was shit everywhere. Like there was throw up everywhere, bro. Like I was living in that, and that was part of when I made the change where I like got super disciplined with my meals and everything. And like, yeah, that house was fucking crazy.
It was a hell of a time though.
Yeah. Well, dude, it was definitely some of the craziest stories in that house, like for sure. And that's why I signed up, bro. That's why I pledged and everything. So go back to Carlos, and we'll wrap it up. So we'll do part 2. We'll have to do it again. Going back to Carlos, so we pledged that week. We didn't sleep. I mean, people were like passing out, like because it was terrible. But I remember one night, I was up because I just had an active mind, and I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate everybody. And I remember walking into like the darkest part of the basement, like going towards the door where we go outside. It's like 4 a.m. And Carlos is just like standing there staring at this fucking thing, like looking so fucking determined about something. And I'm like, this guy's as fucked up as I am. Like, I was like, he truly he's sick in the mind, bro, to be out here like this right now. And yeah, so then I knew that he was always someone that I could rely on, right, if I ever needed him. And then later in the years, he actually got into e-com. He came to me and he was like, yo, can you help me do e-commerce stuff? Because I was like drop shipping some shit at the time. And I was like, no, like fuck off. Like just learn it on your own. I'm busy.
Did you work with Sean Kelly?
No, but I know of that. Yeah, I know of him. So, I was just doing some shit like eBay, Walmart type shit. And then I was like, no, like I don't have time to help you. Like just do it. And then he learned to do it on his own and ended up making like tens of thousands of dollars a month, like doing drop shipping graphics cards. So I was like, all right, he knows how to fucking he's not only a savage, he also knows how to make money and knows how to learn and knows how to like execute. And then he was showing me some tax stuff to do as well. So then that's when I got him into our business. And then going towards today, like he now actually in one of our companies, like there's 2 main ones. It's the Funded Trader and then Easton Consulting. And he's the CEO of Easton. And then I'm the CEO of the Funded Trader. But the reality is, bro, he really is the brains. Like he's smarter than I am. He went to school for aerospace engineering. Like he really is smarter than I am, but I'm more tapped in. Like, to be honest. So yep. I'm more tapped in. So I'm like with the community. I'm the product, right? And he's logic. Like I'm the intuition and he's like the logic. So I'm constantly like, bro, this is how I'm feeling. Like this is how the community's feeling, right? Like we need to, I have this formula. It's vitality equals obstruction minus power, right? So if we're not doing positive things for the community, if we're not building our power and we're just constantly hammering them down, right? We're changing the rules. We're banning this. We're doing this, right? We're not listening to them. When that scale shifts and there's more obstruction than power, our vitality drops. So we lose, right? But if we have more power than obstruction, we will keep increasing our vitality. Our life force will continue to expand. So I focus on shit like that. Carlos is like, yo, look at this spreadsheet real quick. And I'm like, all right, like that's what we need as well. And in both of them, in a perfect world, you have both. Anyone that wants to start a business and be extremely successful, you need to leverage data and you need to know people.
Yep.
That's like in 21st century, that's how you make a shit ton of money, realistically. So we'll wrap it up. Give us like just real quick one last thing for the people, right? One last thing you want to say. We'll do a part 2, but just for what's to come, Richie Savage.
I'll be fighting soon. Announcing it here. Savage School Wrestling open up. I'm the best in the world, and y'all gonna see it. That's all I got for you.
Let's go. Coming soon. Let's get it. Appreciate you being on the pod.
Thank you.
Let's go, brother. And we're making it happen. TFT for life.